live on stage. So our next speaker has actually been coming along to an evening of Unnecessary Detail for a very long time. They have worked with me on various projects throughout the years. So I don't know, some of you know some of my ridiculous project greatest hits. Mega Manga. That's it. And some other less successful projects. They are now a design engineering student at Imperial College, and they're going to come to talk to us about the Dragon Box. So, but not themselves. What a change. So, please put your hands together for Amy Mather.
As an Imperial student, I haven't had enough time to learn my script. Okay, so, hello, I'm Amy, and I'm here to talk about a Dragon Box. A little bit about me first. I'm a maker, I'm a nerd, and I fucking love the colour blue, you might notice. Or maybe it's not obvious. So, I also really like circles. There's a lot of circles. If you also like circles, you can buy some circles on the merch floor. I'm a design engineer. More importantly, I'm a design engineer. What's that? I haven't heard you ask, but it can be lots of different things, ranging from making dancing spaghetti towers to measuring a tomato. That's annoying. Measuring a tomato with some calipers and animating a menstrual pad, and sometimes it involves far too many sketches of feet. Now, I found out yesterday that a couple of my professors, Sam and Freddie, are here, so I'm just going to quickly get rid of this slide. And on to a couple of necessary details. Some of you who've been regulars at an evening of a necessary detail before might have wondered if there's someone in the audience who always seems to have the hiccups. Or if someone in the row behind them really just made a cat noise. Yes, they did. It was me. I'm a bit glitchy. I have Tourette's. My most common tick at the moment is oh no bean. That's bean. Hi. Also, sometimes I tell you to fuck off. If this happens, it's probably not deliberate unless you're Matt, in which case 50-50. There's a couple of others that you might hear, and just consider them like bonus features to the talk. And before you ask, yes, I have tried debugging, but my console logged the error messages. They're not that helpful. I already knew that. Okay, so moving on to a Dragon Box, also known as an electromechanical abstraction of a dragon into a trigonal trapezohedroid form. What? Exactly. So I'm going to tell you the story of this uni project and give you a little bit of insight into my design engineering process. So the first stop was inspiration. I took a look at all the projects that I go, wow, that's really cool, and tried to incorporate little bits of elements into that. I did some sketches to come up with some ideas, but as soon as my head heard the words dragon and box and put them together, there was not really any going back. My plan was to build a box with the personality of a dragon. You can stroke it, and depending on how you treat it, it responds. So if you're nice to it, it reveals glowing scales within the walls, but if you're rough with it, then fire-breathing mode is activated. So in order to flesh this out into a feasible design that I could actually build, I decided to do some sketches, and there were so many sketches. Let me go back so you can appreciate how many sketches there were. And once I'd worn my wrist out by drawing way too many sketches, the prototyping stage began. So when it comes to prototyping, often when you start projects, you just have so many questions about what is a Dragon Box and how am I going to build this thing? And many elements turned out to be a lot more complicated than anticipated. I think it's my hair. maybe not. Okay, so I had a couple of prototypes to test out the interaction, work out what sort of size, to test the size of the object, and to work out a way of lighting spheres without limiting their rotation. So there's an LED there, and you can put it on, but you can still spin it around. Hey! There was also some prototypes for the mechanism. During the break, you can come and have a play with them. My favourite is comprised of an Amazon box and a spring from a pen and some 3D printed parts. And it's a little difficult to hold, but it's kind of like fun to play with. Come fiddle. Basic design engineering is just fiddling, really. There were some prototypes to double check the manufacturing process was going to work. They're more boring, we'll move swiftly on. Now, I could go into days' worth of unnecessary detail about this project. However, unfortunately for you guys, Helen only gave me 10 minutes. So we're going to focus on one small element of the build, the scale wall. So a scale wall, what's a scale wall? I wanted to have scales which could turn within a wall and rotate, but without leaving like a massive ugly gap, because it's very easy to have a shape and have a massive hole and it can rotate within it. That doesn't look very nice. So I started off with a sketch, and then I took it into CAD, which is computer-aided design, and I figured out if you spin it around on its axis and intersect it with a wall, then you can get a shape which got a little bit of curvature to it. So I 3D printed it, and I got it here, and it works pretty well. You can like spin it around, and it's really fun. So if you want to have if you want to come and have a fiddle, it's really difficult to break it. So have fun. That's a video for those of you that couldn't see it at the back. But it's all very well 3D printing something, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I decided it was going to be made out of wood, and so out of wood it was going to be made. Now, it's an awkward shape, and it's quite difficult to manufacture, but it turns out with a long, drawn-out process of laser cutting, very, very, very anxiously hand drilling these holes, and then very carefully lining it up in a CNC drilling machine, which is basically like a drill controlled by a robot. You can batch produce dragon scales. The next step was, of course, any good design engineering project has to include a shit ton of LEDs. So how was I going to get LEDs in, and more importantly, connect the wires to these LEDs while still allowing them to rotate? Now, the answer was surprisingly simple. It's just an audio jack, so you can buy them in bulk off the internet and just glue it in. It was easy, disappointingly easy. Oh, that's the cat tick in the video. Good. So a couple of weeks of manufacturing later, and I built the scale wall, and this is kind of what it looks like. And then I moved on and I did a bit more prototyping, and I came up with a mechanism which can take a servo motor, and basically what this does is there's just one motor. I really wanted a scalable solution. Or more importantly, the department's budget only allowed me to purchase one motor. So there's one motor, but it converts that continuous rotation into the rotation. Let me wait for the gift a little bit. There's this little arm which like goes around the square, and that can turn the dragon scales. It sounds a little bit like somebody's boring for oil. It's very loud, but it turns. So this was a very, very exciting moment in the project because I did not have a lot of faith that it would work, but it did. Yay! And I was very, very close to finishing, but then, oh no. Everything went a little bit to shit. It was probably the worst week of my life. And Amy.exe stopped responding. I just kind of curled up in a corner somewhere and tried to recover. So this was what it was supposed to look like, but by the time I pulled myself and the project together, it was a pile of LEDs and a lot of sticky tape. So I kind of was like, okay, it's not what you wanted, but we can pull it together and we can make a great report. Now, No, more things went wrong. It was worse. What I actually submitted was a 12-page blank PDF. On the bright side, it was very easy to mark. So I was like, okay, fine. We're just going to draw a line under this. There's only so many deadline extensions you can request. And that was it. Except that it wasn't it, because as part of our degree, we have to do a 6-month placement. And as part of our placement preparations, we put together a portfolio, which is like a visual CV, so you put in lots of pictures of the stuff that you're proud of. And it was going all right. I kind of got some pictures in there, but then I was finding it more and more difficult to kind of flesh it out. Because every time I looked back on the project, all I could think of was all of like the negative things that have begun to become associated with the project. So it just made me super anxious. So I couldn't help thinking like, well, it's not finished, and nobody wants to see it if it's unfinished, and it just makes you look unreliable, and nobody's going to hire you, and oh my goodness, you still got to glue it, you still got to focus the camera, the image recognition code isn't working, and the gear engagement's shit. So I was like, was the internal monologue. So why am I here, and why am I telling you all of this? Well, I have decided that I'm finished with feeling guilty for not completing this project. I'm finished with associating this project with bad life events. And instead, I really wanted to take the opportunity to remember all of the elements that I'm proud of, and how much I learned, and actually like how much fun I had. So whilst for you, this was a story about how you might build a dragon box, for me, it was about finally being finished. So thank you very much for listening.
You'll have the bits and pieces around afterwards. People want to have a look at them. You can go and say hi, ask any questions. Don't forget, if Amy does say fuck you, the correct call and response is also fuck your cat. There are circles are available for sale. Although technically, just so there's no false advertising, a circle is available for sale at a lot of different scales. That's how circles work. Also, a lot of different scales. Now, that was Amy's joke, but worse. Now, we also have, while I'm on the admin for the merch store, we've got £5 DVDs and downloads, which is all very exciting. This many pounds. By the way, we referred to Helen, and I talked to a voice coming from the corner, Helen Arnie, who's also from Gospel Spoken Nerd, who does all of the work here, is hiding in the corner. We're going to applause for Helen, who's put this on. DVDs should be staffing the stall over here. There'll be a human over here. Come on, from a seated position. Because you're on average more than one human. We also, I wrote that in the card. Apparently, I don't know. Anyway, our next show, just wondering, admin. This is going to be relevant. I'm not wrapping up. We're halfway through. March 31st, we're back here. I've been told they have a fundraiser here for bears in captivity. And so, but Daniel Kitson. It's not the audience. The show is for humans in captivity. Yeah? Daniel Kitson is on, and there's posters at the front if you want to check it out. Apparently, so I just wanted to warn you. We've still got one more act before the next interval, but the posters are out there. And I'll give you some more details. We've got some best of shows coming up before the year is out, so I will endeavour to remind you about those before the show is over, at least another 3 or 4 times. Okay, so now, here we go. We've got one last performer in our middle third, and this